back, everybody. Today we've got something a little bit different as far as phones. It's actually been a while since we covered a phone. I think Paul covered the S21 that he got. Anyway, this is the Nexvoo Nexvoo N380, and this is a business media phone. That means this is actually a more conventional desk phone, but being a media phone, this is actually going to run Android and have a touch screen. And looking at the box, there's not a whole ton on here. There's a model, there's a color, serial number, MAC address, and it just says smarter communications made simple on the one side. So let's go ahead and open it up. So we have the N380 user manual, which has a little line diagram of the phone. Some of the pages appear to be stuck to, there we go. So included accessories: phone, handset cord, Ethernet cable, quick start guide, power adapter. Looks like we've got a variable angle bracket. We've got a couple of different options as far as headsets are concerned. Supports 3.5 millimeter and RJ9, but you can only use one at a time. AC power or PoE, that's power over Ethernet. We've talked about a couple of different power over Ethernet switches. This is one of the devices that does use PoE, and I think I've dragged in one of my Grandstream, what is it, GXV 3245 or 3270 phones before. Those are older media phones. Those are on Android 4.4 at this point. They're getting to be a little dated, but they're still chugging along. Supports Wi-Fi. We can connect to a landline. Notes that there's a USB port. You can use USB headsets. And that's basically it. And it starts talking about the idle screen, the application screen, all the basic things we get on Android. So here is the base unit. And that is beautiful. That looks to be like an 8-inch screen, give or take. That makes it the same size as, you know what, let me go grab it. So this is my GXV 3275. Sorry, I got the model number wrong. As you can see, these are similar devices with some very, let me get the rest of the dust off that. Some very clear differences. Dedicated buttons here on the 3275. They're going to be on screen on the 380. We've got, let's get the handset out. Handset cord. Got similar handsets on both units, and these are just traditional analog handsets. Very, very nice cable routing on the back of the 3280, but I think I plugged in, no, those are both the same, I think. Alright, so as I was saying, this is a 3275. This is actually something I've got a bunch of at work. I have these and the smaller 3240s, which are they're smaller screens. They're 4-inch screens, but they have physical buttons. And this is the N380. This is a new Android phone that we just got our hands on today. You can see that the orientation is different on the screen. This is actually a bigger screen than the 3275. I think this is an 8. I'll measure it if and when I can find a ruler or tape measure. Actually, does it just say in the manual? Huh, it doesn't. Anyway, so we can see on the back all of the ports, and this is actually fairly consistent for devices like this. The 3275 has got a headset port, a LAN port, and a PC pass-through, and our brand new N380 has the same thing. There's a headset port, a PC port, and our dedicated internet jack. I like this friction-based leg, it definitely is a little more comfortable to move. They're both aluminum, kind of like the change on the angular design here in the brushed aluminum look. And the 3275 just feels like I'm going to break it moving this sometimes. So on the side here, we've got a USB port and a headphone jack. And believe it or not, that's basically the same thing that the 3275 had. This is an older device. It had a couple of USB 2.0s, an SD card slot, and an HDMI. I've never used the HDMI. I honestly think that they left it on there just because there wasn't any real cost benefit to removing it for the chipset they selected. Let's move back around to the front. There's no other features on the top or side until we get to the camera. So here's our N380. We've got a physical camera shutter button. Here's our 3275. This is the older model, and we have probably, I think, a slightly better design here. I can tip the camera up and down, and then I can roll it all the way back to turn it off. So that was just here as a reference point for the N380's design here. Overall, the handset is light, comfortable enough. I wouldn't feel too terrible using this for an extended period of time. Although realistically, if I bought a phone like this, I'd be buying a headset. That's part of the reason that I actually buy phones like this, is I've got multiple call centers, and you can buy headsets for some of the cheaper Polycom phones. I mean, you can get a decent PoE phone for $100, and you can buy a headset for them, but you'll spend $200 for some of those headset docking cradle Bluetooth headset adapter all-in-one devices with phone or with auto lifter. Something like this, I'm going to pay more for the phone. This is, I believe, a $300 phone, the N380. The 3275, when I bought it, I think was $250 or $275. So they're not cheap inherently, but I have so many more options. Number one, I have Wi-Fi, which is fantastic. That means I can that means I can put the phone wherever I need without worrying if I have PoE. If I have PoE, I'm going to use it though. The phones have Bluetooth. I can use any Bluetooth headset I want, and there's a USB port for charging them if I get one with a little cradle. And I mean, those are $40. And I feel real bad when those Plantronics ones blow up that cost $200 some days, because I either have to warranty it or hope I can buy and repair just the headset dongle, and that's still $50 plus to replace that. This, if I can buy the whole Bluetooth headset for $50, that's it. I'm done. And if it makes it 3 years, great, and then I can replace it. And I'm not worried if I can repair it to the old cradle. I just, it's just a generic Bluetooth headset and I'm good to go. Supports USB. I have people that like using USB headsets, even wired ones. They've got gaming headsets and everything else that they like, and those just are plug and play. They work with Android. It supports 3.5mm headsets. So if I do want the old traditional 3.5mm combined, or even the old, I want to say that's an RJ, it's not 11, RJ9 headset, I can use those. So I can use anything I want with this, and I can use it basically any way I want. So let's get it powered on, see what version of Android we shipped with. I'm betting we're going to get 7 or 8. That's the last that I saw on devices like this. Kind of hoping that it'll be 9 or 10, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So this is the power adapter, which is one I've seen a couple of times. So this is a fairly standard reconfigurable international power adapter. I've seen this push and lock system before. It did come pre-configured for the United States, so there's no assembly there. But it did come with, I believe that's China and EU. And they've got their logo adhered on here. Just looks like a sticker. Yep, that's a sticker. There's a model number for the adapter. Input is 100 to 240 volts. Output is 5 volt 2 amp. Okay, output being 5 volt, I'm kind of a little disappointed that this isn't a USB Type-C or a mini, but I understand why they went with a barrel jack. It's probably cheaper, and you'd never like plug it into your laptop or anything. You just want to send power to it. So this is a combination of cost saving and other features, and this is quite a long cord. So we've got about 12 feet worth of power cord. So that's good. Plug that into our kilowatt here. I'm gonna stand it up, and hopefully that's at an angle that's still visible there. All right, beautiful blue loading screen. I can see we've got a red indicator LED on the top. While that boots, let's take a look at what else was included here. Nice Ethernet cable. Looks to be 58B2. I don't see the category rating on it. Cat 6E. Okay. Trying to think from the last time I saw 6E. All right, that was loud. Now, typically, these ship with a fairly standard load of Android, and that's what it looks like I've got here. So I've got a Play Store, a settings icon, clock, Chrome, calendar. Looks like Google Duo is on here. And yeah, that's it. So let's go to our settings and go to our about. This is Android 10. This is fantastic. That's 6 builds newer than my Grandstream devices, and it looks pretty clean. So under my apps, you know, it came preloaded with Blue Jeans, with Dolby Voice, and that's just a meeting app that it came preloaded with. Looks like it came preloaded with WhatsApp, which I'm not super thrilled to see. Chrome, Facebook, Google Meet. So we're not quite stock Android, but most of the stuff that's on here is things that I would expect would be useful. So it's got Zoom, it's got Google Duo, Blue Jeans, Google Meet, those type of things. Because it has a camera, because it's a phone, that's actually one of the great things about these Android desk phones, is that they help fill a role of this unified communications device. So I can connect to a Zoom call, I can connect to a Google Meet, and I can do it with my camera, I can do it just as audio only while I'm working, and that means I'm not locking my PC up doing stuff like that. It just works fairly well. What I don't see is the part that makes it actually a phone. So let's go ahead and connect to my Wi-Fi. All right. And let's go to the About, and let's open up its IP on my phone. Looks like that's 192.168.1. That is 245. Interesting. Let's check the quick start guide. So, I guess they just anticipate you'll use whatever SIP service you want with it. Which is actually kind of a letdown. So the GrandStream has a built-in 8-line SIP application that allows you to connect it to a PBX. That's actually a lot of what I do with these, is they get connected to a PBX, and they do get used for other things, but that's 90% of their workload is taking and receiving traditional phone calls that way. Which, this is a beautiful piece of hardware, but I'm a little let down that I don't see that. Normally, there is something in here that allows you to do that. And maybe at this point they anticipate people will have something that they like. Let's go ahead and sign into Google Play. All right, that's interesting. So when I was signing into Google Play, I got a notice that I didn't expect. And that was a Qualcomm hardware notice. Now, on a lot of these that I've seen so far, I get a notice from, or I don't get a notice, but I'm told somewhere in the specs that it's a MediaTek device typically. All right, so we're going to download that, and we're going to search for just something basic. We'll grab SIP Droid and make sure that it works. And while I'm waiting for it to download, So, yeah, SIP Droid here seems to like it just fine. I'll have to stand up a SIP service that isn't my office so that I can test it, just for the sake of that. But yeah, I know the registration failed. There's nothing there. And let's see, it looks like this is a Snapdragon 450. Wow! That is a lot for a desk phone. That is something else. I did not expect an octal core CPU on a desk phone. All right. So I mean, does it say how much RAM it's got? System 64-bit Android. Man, CPU-Z is just not stable. N380 says this is a 7.06-inch screen, which is a little smaller than it looks like, but I'm sure these bezels are part of that. 3 gigs of RAM, and it looks like the internal storage says internal storage is 21.03 gigs, which is a weird number. Probably a 32 gig chip with part of it reserved for something. That is a ton of horsepower compared to the other ones. They usually had a couple of gigs of storage and like 512 megs of RAM. It looks like it has all of the standard sensors in here. Oh, yep, there's a gyroscope. We support screen rotation. Not that I think you would want to, but you could definitely use the device like that. The handset's not going to stay in place. So what it looks like Nexvu has done is taken basically a reference Snapdragon 450 tablet and grafted it onto a PoE phone base. And we are probably in a separate video, because I'm already 25 minutes in, going to do a teardown and see how this thing is built internally. But that's really what this looks like. The body looks like that's what they've done. It looks like I have a tablet basically docked in here. And that's not bad. It's just different. I've got all of my normal rotation sensors. No step detector or counter. Tilt detection, gravity wake up. And the only thing that this is really missing that I would expect on a tablet like that is a rear-facing camera. So we've got a huge SoC, plenty of storage. We're running the 2010-1005 security patch, which is last October. That's a little further out than I would like, but I also haven't tried updating it. So let's go to the settings and run an update check. Well, it looks like there aren't any new ones. All right. Okay, so basically that's a quick tour. We've got some really potent hardware in a fairly unique package. And people who are, on Zoom all the time, on the phone all the time, that type of thing, this is actually a really good device for that. It lets you, leave work on your desk and walk away, as it were, instead of having all of that on your own tablet or your own phone. And for IT departments, this is a little bit different than the Grand Streams, and I'm not 100% sold on it from the corporate standpoint, and part of that is when I tried to connect to it on the web, I got nothing. I got told that the site can't be reached. And let me try it one more time as HTTP. No, HTTPS isn't any better. So that's actually a really big distinction here, is I think because of the way they approach this, they ended up with something that's a better device, but they have missing software. These Grand Streams, as far as Android is concerned, are basically an antique at this point. I mean, they're Android 4.x, and they're not being updated even to like 6 or 7. So eventually there's apps that are going to stop working on them. Hasn't happened yet, but eventually it will. And I use plenty of apps on them. This model phone sits in the desk of the network operating center for the department head. He has cameras on it. He has stats on it so he can watch other people's calls. He has his calendar on it and a variety of things of that nature that all make this more useful than just a phone. And all of that's going to obviously work better here with that huge SoC and this beautiful screen. But what this doesn't have that this does is when I get a call or I get an email that says my phone's not working, I say, what's the IP address of the phone? And I can open it up in my browser and check the SIP configuration for that. Relying on third-party apps for the SIP portion of the phone feels like a oversight on Nexvu's part. And I'm going to send them an email about it because they really have a compelling piece of hardware that's just missing that last bit of software. And I understand that that may be actually more difficult than the hardware on this because, I mean, it's an overgrown Snapdragon 450 phone. Most of the rest of this, a USB hub, some power adapters, you know, a handset here, not difficult things to cobble together at the design stage, and bringing them all together in a package as nice as this definitely takes effort, but is not reinventing the wheel either. So they need that software component to just bring this product all the way to where it needs to be. I do want to thank Nexvu for sending this phone. I want to be clear about that. They did send this in as a review device. We're going to take it apart probably a week or two after this video goes live and get a look at how it's built internally. And I am going to be taking my 3275 off my desk and putting this in its place and using it. And hopefully it behaves well. And frankly, other than the management side, I'm not super concerned. It so far is super responsive, far more responsive than the 3275s ever were. It's bright, it's easy to read, the sound on it. In fact, let's go ahead and just play one of my own YouTube videos here. Welcome back, everybody. Today we seem to have gotten somebody's attention. We've got a couple of items that were sent in to us by Harbor Freight, and that is the. So overall, sound is good. Switching between the handset and the internal speaker was instantaneous. I knew I was getting it. That's really great. And the sound is what I expect from a phone. This is not something you want to listen to music on all day. Although, you know, if you wanted to play some Spotify or something like that on this thing, that's actually not a terrible thing to do, especially since that means your music's going to auto cut out the second you pick up your handset to answer a call. And I know people who use the 3275s with Bluetooth headsets that way as well. So, anyway, almost forgot to play with that. I do want to thank Electrix. That was his opening theme that he wrote for us that you heard at the very beginning there. And as always, check him out if you like what you hear. And even if you don't, that opening thing was a whole lot of my input for the style. So it's worth it a look. I want to thank anyone who helps support Pocketables, either via Patreon or by using our Amazon affiliate links. It is support like that that helps make reviews like this possible, as well as, you know, our subscribers. Having more of those always helps companies want to talk to us. And finally, thank you for watching.